Great to talk with Owen Caissie. He is the Cubs' #3 prospect, according to a lot of the publications. A guy that I've gotten to see here in Tennessee. I'm Nick Gillespie, the broadcaster for the Tennessee Smokies, and it's great to have you. Thanks for coming on. I like the T-shirt.
Aho Taco. Got to represent the Outfield, and I'm glad to be on this podcast.
Yeah, man. Well, I mean, does that mean we're going to see you going the other way more? I saw you hit a couple home runs the other way recently.
I just really like the shirt. That's really it. Yeah.
Well, let me just start with your trek to the Cubs, right? Mm-hmm. Because you were a Padres farmhand.
Yeah.
And the Cubs traded Yu Darvish to San Diego, and I know the front office was really excited about getting you back in return. What was it like being traded?
I remember I was sitting in the cage back home, and then my agent called me. He was like, "Hey, man, you might get traded." I was like, "Well, okay. I've only been with the Padres for like 7 months. That would kind of suck." But it was honestly a weird feeling. It's like it wasn't real. It's kind of like you're just like floating and don't really know what's going on. I think I was like 17 or 18 at the time. So, I mean, it was kind of crazy. But, yeah, now I'm here.
Yeah, I mean, and that's like a big-time guy, too. I mean, when you get traded for one of the best pitchers in baseball, there's a reason why they really liked you. And I remember at the time, and it's still this way to an extent, is that teams don't want to give up like the guys who are – on the board, right on the border of getting to the big leagues, because then all of a sudden, like people like me are like, hey, wait a second, you just traded Nelson Velasquez for a middle reliever, and he's hit 4 home runs in a week, and I can tell you all about his game, and he's about to be a star, right? And so there's an accountability there for that. Obviously, this trade deadline, the price to get players was high.
Yeah.
But you're a top end prospect that was really young at the time, and so there's a development that goes with it.
Mm-hmm. I mean, what the Cubs have done with their trades in the last couple of years, that you can look at getting like Alcantara, Pete, Ben Brown, myself. I think they've done a really good job at, like you said, identifying talent and really just bringing them in. Try to I feel like they're going for a big push again.
Yeah,
in a couple of years.
So do I. And I wouldn't say that if I didn't think that. But you brought it up, so now I got to ask you. A guy called Hollywood Pete, just because. Obviously, you watched him. Yeah. I mean, every single day it's something crazy, whether it's his X-ray vision on a pitch in the dirt or a catch that he makes in the outfield or a clutch hit. But he is just so fun to watch. He's got that style in the outfield. What was it like rooming with him?
It was great. I mean, me and him and BJ Murray actually had a trio. It was great rooming with him. And honestly, just playing with him and like patrolling the outfield, he made me a better outfielder.
Really?
Yeah. I really enjoy playing outfield with him and being on team with him. But one thing that I really took away from his game is how much pride he took in outfielding, and I really feel like it rubbed off on me more so this year than last year for sure.
Really? Yeah. It's weird you say that, because my assessment of your defense is that it's underrated. I think you're excellent at your routes, the way that you're able to read the ball off the bat, your arm, you're a smart player, you throw to the right base. But you forget that you're out there until someone else comes and plays right field, because of the fact that you just make all the plays. So how did you develop that? And I know part of it's probably watching someone like him, that you say that, the pride that he took. But to me, this looks like a lifetime of growing into this position.
Yeah, I mean, growing up in Canada, you couldn't really do much outfield work. It was really just ground balls and line drives. But, last year I started to see more improvement in my game. It's just really about reps for me right now. And I know I'm not the, best defender ever. I won't make all the diamond plays, but I'm going to try to make every play look routine as possible with my routes. Like you said, I really take pride in making the right first step and having a good reaction time, because I feel like, you see guys making diving plays like Pete, in my opinion, has one of the best first steps in the game.
Yes.
Because he can get to everything right. I feel like I want to have just as good as first step. Obviously, I'm not as fast as him, but really making those catches and just making every routine play and just being smart.
Yeah. Well, look, I mean, you're a different type player too. I mean, you're a guy that hits home runs and drives in men, and you're kind of like a 3, 4, 5 spot in the lineup guy. Pete, to me, is more of a table setter, although he did drive in a lot of runs this year. And you play a power position in right field. But I noticed that. I mean, I think that that's what you want to do. Just because you dive and make a catch doesn't necessarily mean you had to dive. And then as soon as you leave your feet and you're on the ground, then you know, a good base runner is going to be able to take an extra base on that too, right?
Yeah, I mean, I really just try to be an all-around player, and I feel like in the last year, my defense has really taken a step in a good direction, in my opinion. I don't think really people know how much I've worked on it and how much, you know, I've kind of worked, like tirelessly worked on it. And just honestly talking to Pete about it, and Doug DeCenzo really helped me a lot too. But it's just really about kind of refining my game and making me more all-around player.
No doubt about it. Hanging out with Owen Caissie, talking baseball here on the Cubs Baseball Channel. And again, appreciate you coming and hanging out with us.
Thank you.
And what a great season you've had so far. Did you expect to have this kind of success? Because I feel like, you know, you're in the top in every single category in the Southern League, which is a league that you were 20 for most of the season in. You know, you've either led or been in the top 2 or 3 in home runs, batting average, RBIs, total bases, doubles. I mean, so many different areas.
I'm just trying to be the best player I can be, really. And I knew I was going to have a better year than I did last year, because last year I really didn't have any idea what I was doing at the plate. I'm not going to lie. I didn't really have that much of an approach. And one thing that I felt like it helped me this year was the WBC.
Really?
Being around like Larry Walker, Freddie Freeman,
wow,
you know, all the older guys in that team really taught me. And I really just watched them and what they did on a day-to-day basis. And one thing Freddie Freeman did say was that you can win your routine every single day. And I've done the same exact routine every single day in that cage the whole entire year. And I can see, you know, you can win it every single day. So that means, you know, you always feel prepared, you know, and honestly, the swing amount, I'm not taking BP as much this year. I'm really just focusing on the quality over quantity, because last year I felt like I was just swinging. But this year I really have refined my approach, my routine, and I know what I want to do in the box every day. I have one common goal.
Wow, and that makes a lot of sense. You know, the other thing too, as you go up levels, is, you know, in game and at bat approaches. You know, making adjustments. One of my favorite players was Eddie Murray, who's a Hall of Fame first baseman and a switch hitter for Baltimore and some other teams. But he would talk about maybe instead of baseball, we should call it adjustments, because you're constantly making adjustments.
That's all it is, really. I mean, from pitch to pitch, you can see the really good players, they go from pitch to pitch, and the average ones go from AB to AB. And obviously you can get away from that, but you really just have to be like smart and like lock back in. Like, no, you know, I have to make an adjustment from pitch to pitch. Like Rocket City, I'm not going to lie, right now they're pitching us pretty well. And I feel like we're going to have a good night tonight. But it's really just about making the adjustments, like you said.
Well, and for you personally, you know, the secret's out. I mean, you're a great hitter. And so that when they make the lineup, you're the guy they're keying on now. And that's got to be difficult. You know, you're facing some of these pitchers that are 26, 7, 8, 9, 30 years old, you know? So, I mean, you know, being a young guy that hasn't played a whole lot of baseball, I mean, you've played some, that's got to be difficult.
At the start of the year, I feel like I was getting too aggressive. And then, like you said, the older guys were taking advantage of it. But right now, I don't really look at it as an age thing. I just look at it as a level thing. You know, like I feel like every time I step in the box, like they're not on my level.
Yeah.
And I try to dominate. You know, sometimes baseball happens and, you know, not everything's going to go my way. But this is a hard league, I'm not going to lie. For the first 3 months, the balls were looking like they were going up in the air because of the new ball. But really just being myself.
Yeah. Who do you model your game after? I know you talked about Freddie Freeman and playing for Team Canada in the World Baseball Classic, but who's the guy that Owen Caissie says, you know what, that's the kind of player I want to be?
I'm not going to lie, no one. Yeah, I want to be myself, and I haven't really looked at any like that. I haven't really ever said to myself, you know, I want to be like that player. I'm still trying to figure out who I am, to be honest with you. But it's hard to say, really. Like, I really just try to be me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you were growing up in Canada, were the Blue Jays your major league team? They were? Yeah. I mean, how popular are the Blue Jays in Canada?
I mean, they're they're very popular. I'm not gonna lie. Baseball is blowing up in Canada, which
Really?
I'd love to see, and hopefully I have a good career. And when I'm done playing baseball, I'm really gonna give back to baseball in
Really?
Canada. Yeah, for sure, no doubt about it.
Do you want to be a manager one day?
I do want to work in baseball. That's for sure. Yeah, I don't think baseball will ever be out of my life for sure.
Yeah. No, that'd be a lot of fun. It is cool seeing baseball get big in Canada. I was telling you about Joey Votto's dad, Big Joe, telling me like, hey, Joey's big time player. He was a prospect at the time. So this is years ago. And people would be like, oh, that's great. Well, what are the Maple Leafs doing? And you said it's different now. Like people are actually like into baseball and basketball.
Oh yeah. Both those two sports have really blown up in the last couple of years. Just honestly, because I feel like more people are getting to enjoy and go to the games and see, obviously with social media, it's like really helping. Yeah. I mean, like Instagram, has gotten big, Twitter's gone big. And that's really helping with the growth of the two communities, I feel like, in Canada. Yeah.
How far from Toronto did you grow up?
Like 30 minutes on a good day, 2 hours on a bad day.
Really?
With the
Traffic's pretty bad there?
Yeah.
So if Major League Baseball expands, which they're talking about doing, obviously we're all championing Nashville, but do you think Montreal should have a team?
I do think they should have a team. French Canadians love baseball.
They do?
Yeah, they do.
Okay.
And they're good at it too. I remember playing them, in tournaments when I was a kid, and they were always, I'm not going to lie, better than us.
Really?
Yeah. I'm not going to lie. Yeah.
I didn't know that. I thought that it was like, I just had Canada envisioned as hockey way up here and everything else down here, but it sounds like a lot's changed.
I mean, yeah, the talent pool is getting better. More and more people are giving back to the community, and I feel like that's doing the game like a good thing. It's just you put in your time and then you put it back into the game, and keep moving it more forward, like leveling it up. And I feel like the more people realize that Canadians can play baseball, we surprise people. Yeah.
So when you run into other Canadians that are on different teams, do you know these guys from growing up, or is there a lot of big connection there? I would imagine it'd be that way. I
mean, there's not many of us. So like David Calabrese here. Yeah. And, I played Team Canada with him. And, Tyler Black was on Biloxi. There's not many of us in this league, but whenever we see someone, we kind of say what's up and kind of respect type of thing.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. All right, let me ask you this. Wrigley Field, playing for the Cubs, when do you envision that happening? Whenever
the Cubs want me up there. Okay. Yeah, I don't really have a timetable. Like I said, I just want to be the best version of myself, and whether that be in 5 years, next year, I never really know. It's whenever the Cubs feel like I'm ready.
Yeah. Well, spring training is an opportunity for guys that are in the minor leagues to kind of mix with big league guys, and you'll definitely be in there again this year coming up. I mean, when you dominate statistically in AA, you're right on the verge of that. So what's the spring training experience been for you so far, and what do you hope to get out of it next year?
So far, spring training, my second spring training with the Cubs, I did a lot of big league games. I really got to know the guys. Last year, not so much, just because it was more of a competitive team. People were trying to make more roster spots and everything like that. But it's honestly good getting to know the big league guys. Everyone's great in this organization. It's like a big family. Yeah, it's sweet. And just getting to know everyone is really cool. Yeah.
Is there anyone that is on the big league roster that you've connected with through these spring training games, or, maybe in Arizona, that's kind of helped you along the way on this path yet? Or is it, not quite there yet?
Not quite there yet. When I'm in the big league games, I really stay out of their way. I really just look and listen. Like my ears are wide open, and I kind of just, don't get in the way of things, and pretty much like don't speak until I'm spoken to type of thing. Yeah.
Right. Sit back and learn. One of the biggest compliments I can give you is the way that you go about your work every day. Like you do it the right way. I can tell, the way that you show up and you take your BP when you're in the game. You're a smart player. And to me, like when I'm looking at how a player is going to kind of move on and have a career, the guys who have a lot of success are the guys that kind of do it the way you're doing it. I mean, you're doing it at a young age. You're 21, but I don't think, oh, there's a guy that's 21, like I just feel like you already have a veteran presence. How did you get there?
It's kind of my personality.
Is it?
I feel like I'm not a little bit of an old soul. I don't know. I really was just not a loner, but like I really worked on my craft when I was young and in high school, and even before that by myself. I really I had a goal in mind, and right now I'm in the middle of achieving that goal. Not quite there yet, not even close, to be honest with you. But I really just feel like if you put your head down and work, at the end of the day, I can't tell myself I didn't try hard enough. And that's really my approach with it. And whether that be me being like all happy-go-lucky, but, I'm just a guy who, likes to go about his work and get the job done.
Yeah. There's just something about when you make contact. And I've heard people say this, and then I play, I've been around the game, whether it be like from the time I was 5 playing, umpiring and managed, and I've been a broadcaster for a long time. There's just certain guys that when they hit the ball, it just does different stuff. I wish I was one of them. And maybe I'd be in the big leagues, right? Mm-hmm. You have that thing. I don't know what it is, but it's just like when you hit it, it does crazy stuff. Do you notice that too? Like when you barrel the ball up, the magic happens?
Yeah. When I hit the ball, when I barrel it up, I hit it pretty good. And I've always been kind of able to hit the ball hard. I was never really a big kid in high school. I really gained my size around like grade 11, 12. But even before that, I was really skinny and everything like that. But I could still hit the ball really hard. And, it's just really trying to put barrel on the baseball.
Yeah. All right, last question. Mm-hmm. When did you get started playing? And what's, I'm sure you're going to tell me when you were a kid, but what's life like in Canada during, baseball season and then the off season?
I started playing, honestly, I'd say around 4 or 5, like T-ball type thing, just regular stuff. But I really got into baseball. This is actually when I fell in love with baseball was watching David Freese beat the Texas Rangers.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I was in my grandparents' basement. Huh? Yeah. And I really fell in love with baseball. And I can like vividly remember where I was, what I was doing, where I was watching. I was like, wow, like that was the best thing I ever seen in my life. And from that day on, really, I've pretty been like in love with baseball pretty much since, it'll be my love for the rest of my life. But really baseball in Canada is just grinding indoors.
Yeah, grinding indoors. Is it that cold up there? It's cold in Chicago.
Where I'm from, it gets cold, but like it's beautiful. The summers are beautiful, all 4 seasons. But going back on what it's like in Canada, it's really just grinding till someone sees you. Mm-hmm. And it's getting better. Kids are getting more opportunities, which I love to see, and talent's getting a lot better. But it's really just I had 4 or 5 key guys I would go to the cage with pretty much every day for like 3 hours, 4 hours for I think till I was 12, like 17 every day, and it's just really just swing, and all I can really say is Canadians are grinders.
Yeah. I love to hear that. Canadians are grinders. That's the headline of this podcast. Anything else that you want to talk about before we get off here? Like experience in America? What's it like playing for the Cubs? Anything else you want to drop in there?
Not gonna lie. When I came to America first, the first time I ever really lived in America was in San Diego for the alternate site for the Padres, and I was like, wow, this is really nice. And then there's always like a stigma coming to America. Yeah, San Diego is beautiful. But like the more and more I stay in America, the more and more I like it.
Really?
Yeah. I've always been coming to America since I was a kid, coming to tournaments, like Indiana, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, all that stuff. But the more and more I live here, the more and more I like it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I got to get to Canada someday. Richie's telling me about your Richie is my broadcast partner, a great guy. He's telling me about your coffee shop that you guys have.
Tim Hortons?
Yeah. I'm like, I never heard of this before, but I love those type of stories.
You can find it in like upstate New York, but Tim Hortons is good. I still think that if I were to take McDonald's coffee, black coffee, and Tim Hortons black coffee, I would pick McDonald's.
That's crazy. Yeah. He said that. I just was like, what about Starbucks? What about Starbucks black coffee?
I just get the nitro brew.
You get the nitro brew? I had one of those this morning. Mm-hmm. That's why I'm all wired up right now. Hey, Owen, great hanging out with you, man.
Yeah.
And we're all looking forward to your success. And it's been a great year. And off season, what you got going on in the off season?
I want to take a little bit of time off, but I'm probably just honestly going to spend in Arizona, at the facility, like I did last year. I feel like, I'm having my best year yet. Why wouldn't I do the same things I did last year in order to prepare for next year? So yeah, I'll just be in Arizona, chilling. That state's great. I love it there. And the Cubs really do a great job of, housing their guys and really taking care of everyone in the organization.
Well, that's so cool. All right. If you liked hanging out with Owen Caissie, make sure you guys like and subscribe. And we appreciate you hanging out with us today for this interview. We'll do it again real soon. And again, thank you to Owen Caissie, one of the Cubs' top prospects, as he continues to move on through the system.
Thank you.